I wish we'd gotten Premier Rob Ford so bad.
Oh my god. He had plenty enough to eat at home. That is always going to be my favorite Rob Ford memory. Maybe should we start off this segment of finding that Rob Ford clip?
I don't know the Rob Ford clip, so yeah, I'd be down.
You don't know that clip?
No.
Okay, oh no, then I'll have to search for that.
He died when I was like a teenager, so like you gotta remember.
Okay, here we go. Jesus. The context of this clip. What's the context? It's gonna be hard for me to remember. It had something to do with him sexually harassing another city councilor or a staffer. So this is when he was mayor of Toronto, right? He sexually harassed someone by saying he was gonna eat their pussy or something like this. And then he was asked about it, and this was his response to that. So, anyways, here we go.
They're calling a friend of mine a prostitute. Alana is not a prostitute. She's a friend, and it makes me sick how people are saying this. So unfortunately, I have no other choice. I'm the last one to take legal action. I can't put up with it anymore. So I've named the names. Litigation will be starting shortly. I've had enough. That's why I warned you guys yesterday. Be careful what you wrote. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. And the next thing I want to call Mayor Britannia in Hamilton and tell them that we're going to have to spank their little tiger cats. Oh, and the last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
What about drinking and driving, Mayor? What about drinking and driving?
Oh my god.
Drinking, driving.
I got more than enough to eat at home. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I love that he tried to end that way and still got clapped back. Amazing. Fucking hell.
I have more than enough to eat at home.
And then,
Oh,
like,
the one where he walks
can we
into the
just play
camera.
the last
Okay.
like 5 seconds again, please?
Okay, yeah.
It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
What about drinking and driving, Mayor? What about drinking and driving?
Because like what you get from that question, what about drinking and driving, is the fact like there was multiple scandals going at this time, you know.
Oh my god.
Rob Ford. What's another good one? Rob Ford. So there's the camera. Rob Ford
Camera one.
walks into camera. There's also the one where he like body checks another city councilor. That one's pretty good. That's this one here. So this is
Sir, what do you think of what
Rob
you've heard?
Ford walking into a camera.
What do you think of what you've heard so far?
No, it's open debate. There's people that are for it and people that are against it. That's why we're having it. Excuse me, guys.
Holy Christ! Holy! I got this respect. He's hitting the face of the camera.
People that are for it and
Oh
people
god,
that
it's
are
on
against it.
repeat.
That's
Oh,
why we're
slow
having
motion.
it.
Here it comes.
Excuse me, guys.
Oh. God, can you imagine if he'd been premier? Like,
Oh my god. Well, look at that. Look at that beauty shot right there. Right.
yeah,
Ah.
more than enough to eat at home.
I know. I could not get over when he fucking said that. I have more than enough to eat at home. So this is my other favorite Rob Ford.
Losing his powers and his cool. Knocking over a councillor as he charges around. Rob Ford is the mayor who admitted smoking crack cocaine.
Oh,
Listening to a British person calmly explain what we're witnessing here in Canada. Okay, let's hear that again.
Losing his powers and his cool. Knocking over a councillor as he charges around. Rob Ford is the mayor who admitted smoking crack cocaine and is now being stripped of responsibilities and money.
my god. Rob Ford is the mayor that admitted to smoking crack cocaine. Oh my god. That was
I
Pam
think Toronto
McConnell.
peaked with Rob Ford. Like,
My fellow Canadians, I need help. There is simply too much pussy to eat in my home. One man cannot be expected to do it all alone. Okay, holy shit. Now, we are going to talk about Doug Ford, but I think we need to give Doug Ford his due, since we're watching Rob Ford clips. So let's... I know he plays it in this one, so I don't want to play the John Oliver, because it's going to get, like, captioned. So I'm going to do this, but we're going to find... No! Stop talking, John. What we need... Where is it?
shut the fuck up, John.
Okay, here's the beauty. Okay, here we go. So this is Doug Ford. Was this when he said? So he said something anti-Semitic, and he was like asked to defend it, and so.
Something. My doctor, my Jewish dentist, my Jewish lawyer, my Jewish accountant.
So, so he's speaking to like a Jewish conference, being like, I basically can't be anti-Semitic because I have a Jewish doctor, a Jewish dentist, etc. Right? So then he was asked about it again in like a press conference, and this was his response to it as well.
The Ford family has an extensive relationship, a great relationship with the Jewish community. Matter of fact, my wife is Jewish.
As a matter of fact, my wife
She's
is Jewish.
not.
Oh no! So here's you want to hear the wife's response? So this is the wife's response, okay?
My mother's
Oh my God.
family has Jewish bloodlines. I don't practice Judaism. I never have.
Oh, and this man right now is in charge of our province. My wife's Jewish. Oh my god. What clowns? So, now, divorce in the works? No, sadly, they are still together, I do believe. Cher is as Jewish as Liz Warren is Native American. Didn't you hear it? She doesn't practice Judaism. I don't practice Judaism. But I do have Jewish bloodlines. Dear Lord. Who even says bloodlines like that? Like, even hearing someone just say bloodlines makes me feel icky. I got Jewish bloodlines. She also sounds like a prototypical Canadian. Like, she would be on, like, a sitcom making fun of Canadians. Oh, come over to my house and eat my poutine, don't you know? One brother's wife brings the blood of Abraham. The other brother's wife brings a truckload of vagina. Jesus Christ. Listen, he's got plenty of enough to eat at home, you know?
Rob Ford have kids?
Did Rob Ford have kids? I don't know. I did not know. Can you say Jewish bloodlines with a
Two
German accent?
children.
No, I will not. All right, so what are we talking about today? Doug Ford. He says he won't impose COVID-19 vaccine mandate for Ontario healthcare workers. Now, this is weird, in part because it was already sort of like mandated, and we had covered on the stream before of protests that were happening, right? In front of hospitals where so-called like nurses were out there. And even like we watched the one outside of Cambridge Memorial Hospital, and there was not a lot of people there, right? Now his justification for why they're doing it is quite weak, as you're going to hear, which is basically that he thinks that if we allow the mandate to be enforced and to go into effect, that we're going to have massive layoffs of healthcare workers when we need the healthcare workers, is kind of their justification. And we will get to why that's absurd in a second. But the other thing to keep in mind is whether or not this is actually being advocated for by, actual like medical groups, or if Doug Ford just decided that they were going to do it anyways. So let's read this article, shall we? This is just fresh off the pages today. This came out, and it's quite annoying, to be honest. So it says, Premier Doug Ford said Wednesday, Ontario won't make COVID-19 vaccines mandatory for those working in healthcare, suggesting doing so could jeopardize patient care in the province. He said the impact of the potential departure of tens of thousands of healthcare workers is weighed against the small number of outbreaks that are currently active in Ontario hospitals, Ford said in a news release. Having looked at the evidence, our government has decided to maintain its flexible approach by leaving human resourcing decisions up to individual hospitals. Ford said hospitals have strong enough outbreak controls at place that even when COVID-19 spreads at their facilities, there is little, if any, impact on patient care. Currently, hospital workers in Ontario must get vaccinated or regularly get tested for the virus, though many hospitals have gone ahead with stricter policies. Hospitals that have placed unvaccinated employees on leave or terminated them have reported staff losses of between 1% and 3%. Which I don't know to what extent this is catastrophic. 1% to 3% really isn't that high in my. But like,
It's
sorry, you were gonna say something, Piano?
I don't know, like that's fairly high considering how stretched thin hospitals are, but also just like another solution would just be to like, increase hospital budgets so that they can hire people.
Or replace these workers with vaccinated workers, Full disclosure.
Honestly, I'm surprised that they're not going through with it just to cut hospital budgets. Like,
What did you mean by that? Sorry, I didn't follow it.
I'm surprised that they're not going through with it and then saying, no, you can't hire new people. And I wonder if that's might be part of why they're not hiring, is that like maybe new people would be hired on a higher pay scale or something versus like, because like the best austerity measure is just to fire them and then not hire replacements, because then less money from the public coffers or whatever bullshit. But
Honestly,
yeah, I don't know.
I think we're going to get to why I think he's making the decision in a second here. So it says, several hospitals, including those with Toronto's University Health Network, have already put mandatory vaccination policies in place. Ford pointed to already high vaccination rates in hospital as another factor behind this decision. He said vaccines and strong infection control protocols have kept hospitals safe, and they are able to manage outbreaks. His statement also pointed to news of surgery cancellations in British Columbia due to staff shortages after its vaccine mandate took effect. So I think he's seeing something like this happening in another province and is again going, I don't want to hurt my upcoming election by having people not being able to get their surgeries. I think that's a part of what's the calculus that's going on here.
Yeah.
Ford said the government will keep monitoring the situation and might revisit the policy if warranted. So Health Minister Christine Elliott told reporters later on Tuesday that the province decided not to impose a vaccine mandate on healthcare workers because hospitals would experience significant job losses, but the province supports the right to hospitals to make individual decisions. I mean, like, it seems so weird to like say something like that, which is like, I guess like maybe other hospital, like, it's clear that what they're saying here is that it would be better if they were vaccinated, but some hospitals might receive shortages if they implement a policy like this. That being said, if you put it out there that we're just not going to have our staff vaccinated, then like, okay, you might have like protocols in place that help like mitigate certain like effects like that, but then like you're still increasing the risk by having people unvaccinated, including the healthcare workers in your facility working with patients. I don't know. It's kind of messed up. I did want to skip. I don't really care what they all have to say. I'm more curious what doctors have to say. So that we got here. In a pinned tweet, Dr. Michael Warner, an ICU doctor at Michael Garron Hospital in Toronto, said it doesn't make sense to allow unvaccinated workers to interact with patients. We need a universal mandatory vaccination policy for all hospitals and long-term care homes in Ontario, he said. That's the safest thing for patients. Ford's announcement came hours after the province's top doctor unveiled a plan to provide vaccine booster shots to all Ontarians over the age of 12 by early next year. Reporters asked Dr. Kieran Moore about vaccine mandate for healthcare workers, but he did not provide an answer. Yeah, I mean, I get frustrated with all of this too, because like part of me is like, you would hope that your healthcare workers cared about science or like, the efficacy of various things that they're supposed to do. I mean, I know they already had policies that their staff had to be vaccinated with the flu. I know that that's in place based on various people I know who work in the healthcare industry. So it would make sense that you would have a COVID vaccine policy as well. But there's just a sense in which, like, I don't know, I would rather the people who work in a setting like this to understand the basics of their trade. I don't know. Like, I don't know, that there is this thing called COVID. It really is an infectious disease. And maybe it should warrant, I don't know, getting vaccinated based on the science that you apparently went to school to understand before you got your job, Which, like, in terms of firing, I mean, the other element of that, too, is, like, you realize COVID is bad, okay? And that if you stop having healthcare workers working, there's less people to treat the people who are getting infected with the COVID thing, and the COVID thing is bad. So then you're like, okay, but we're going to let nurses not get vaccinated so they can infect other people, thus exacerbating the problem of needing to have all these people there to treat, right? Because you're worried that if we get rid of them, no one will be there to treat. But in having them go vaccinated, you increase the number of people you need to treat by having them expose more people at the hospital, but then also expose more people when they're outside of the hospital, Bring back smallpox. Jesus. But I do feel this is going to be in tandem with our next story that we're just going to move into. This is the Doug Ford segment. Which I feel like a lot of these things that he's coming out with now is in his head. The idea is like, hey, look, we're having an election that I believe is going to be early June. So it's coming up. We're going to have an election early June. And I think he's doing a lot of this with the prospect in mind that, like, hey, this will be a thing that'll somehow help me get elected. And this is the other thing he did that he probably is thinking, hey, this is going to make me look good. Which is Doug Ford's minimum wage move signals it's election time in Ontario. So I love even the journalists have picked up on the fact that this is likely an election ploy of some kind. I also like business groups call the hike to $15 an hour unexpected. But it's central to the PC's re-election strategy. What is? No, I'm not a huge fan of Mike Crowley, but what's he gonna do?
Who is it? It's CFIB, I assume, is the business group.
I have
the only business group.
I have a tweet thread by the CFIB that we will go over, but I do not know who Crowley is talking about. What you need to know about the wage increase is that the Liberals put in a plan that by the time Doug Ford was elected, our minimum wage was supposed to be up to $15 an hour. Doug Ford gets elected right when the rollout is supposed to go from $14 to $15, and he decides that we're just going to cap it at the $14 and not increase this extra dollar an hour. And he cited that if we increased it an extra $1, the entire economy is going to collapse, that people who work in retail are going to be fired because their employers are not going to be able to like afford that increase. And this was him saying this like 4 years ago. Okay? Now, what's weird about that is now all of a sudden he's like, oh, now it's the perfect time to increase it. That's, So it says, here's what happened to the minimum wage in Ontario since Premier Ford took office. So we got 2020, there was a 1.8% increase, up 25 cents to 4.25. And then in 2021, there was a 0.7% increase, up 10 cents. So we even increased it 35 cents
Sorry,
since Doug Ford's been in power.
You skipped over 2018 and 19, which was 0%
Yes.
increase.
Oh, no, for sure. Well, I mean, he already rolled it back when he got elected in 2018.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed
that
to be
fucking
15.
10-cent one was just like, that is just so fucking insulting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's an extra dime per hour.
I mean,
if you work 10 hours in a day, you can make a whole extra $1. Minus the tax, of course.
It's also the case that none of this has ever kept pace with inflation and the rising price of goods. So
yeah,
why?
let alone now.
I mean, people were asking before Doug Ford even got elected. So this is back when the Liberals were in power. They were asking for a $15 minimum wage then, because back then $15 at least approximated in most Canadian cities a living wage. Now, it wasn't a living wage in every city, even back then when they were proposing it, but I don't even think it's a living wage anywhere in Canada right now. I'm pretty sure anywhere you go in Canada, $15 an hour is like not a living wage. And yet now they get to pretend that we implemented it now, so don't worry. Aren't we great? We did it for you right before the election.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! So, I guess Mike Crawley in his piece, he references this.
Thank goodness, our labor movement.
We'll get to the labor movement in a second. He goes, that record is just one reason why many in this province were both surprised by and skeptical of Ford's campaign-style announcement Tuesday that his government will boost the minimum wage to $15 an hour effective January 1st, 2022. So that's the other thing. It's going to happen in a couple months, but closer to the election, obviously. The date is precisely 3 years after Ontario's minimum wage was due to hit $15 an hour under the legislation brought in by Kathleen Wynne, Liberals' government, back in 2018. Ford slammed that bill as job killing. His government repealed it and also froze the minimum wage for 2 years. Given all that, it's only natural that Ford was grilled by reporters at Tuesday's news conference on why a minimum wage hike that he considered such a job killer then is great now. And Doug Ford says, things were a lot different back in 2018. Ford told the news conference, we didn't have the pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. I love that he has to specify that a worldwide pandemic. My wife's Jewish. That's the voice I'm imagining in my head. How different were things in 2018? Not only did Ford's government freeze the minimum wage, it also took away a guarantee of 2 paid sick days annually for all employees. Yes, he did that. Scrapped an equal pay for equal work law. He did that. And eliminated rules making it easier for workers in some sectors to join unions. Isn't Doug Ford a wonderful human being? And I was out there protesting this all when it was happening. Because I was unionized and doing this shit back when this was happening, and very pissed off that this was happening. None of this was reflected in Ford's tone or words at Tuesday's news conference. This government will always remain on the side of workers, he said. I wrote 2 weeks ago about how Ford and the Progressive Conservatives are attempting a political makeover ahead of the election next June 2nd by portraying themselves as pro-worker. Which is just fucking phenomenal, because, like, they were the most, like, protested. I've protested him fucking many times. We stood out. I went to some event outside of something he went to in Mississauga. with all the union groups, and we had an effigy of Doug Ford and a bunch of shit. So. I've marched more of my life because of this fucking guy. Tuesday's announcement further proves that this is a key piece of the PC strategy for winning re-election. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, so this is what you're getting at, Vienna, didn't see the minimum wage hike coming, calling it unexpected in a news release. The Ontario government's surprise decision to increase the minimum wage without consultation comes at the worst possible time for small businesses. Always fucking small businesses. I hate these people. Nick goes, I will never get over the oxymoron of progressive conservatives. If that doesn't sum up optics and politics, I don't know what will. I mean, I've also...
It comes from a different time, though.
Yeah. I mean,
like...
with Doug Ford, he just happens to be a part of a historical lineage of that party, but he definitely ran more of the our federal conservative party sort of like way of like also being a social conservative.
Yeah, like the progressive conservatives federally alongside CCF, NDP, were they were still CCF in Saskatchewan, right? Or were they?
It was NDP by the time that, well, the PC were still around.
Yeah, no, I just mean in terms of like when they brought in healthcare, like that was the federal progressive conservatives. And like the parties get so confusing because they keep like changing their names all the time. But originally they were the liberal conservatives, then they were like just the conservatives for a while, and they became the progressive conservatives. Because for the most part, like the libs and the cons haven't really had a like very clear distinction between them. And that's still clear in some respects, in that like the conservatives are willing often to move closer to the liberals in order to like the liberals are often move closer to the conservatives, and like they just kind of like share positions on a lot of stuff.
Well, that's like
where it's like it's not.
Well, like what I was going to say, it's like weird with O'Toole because he kind of fit the mold of more of like the progressive conservative, and
yeah,
and that's why like you hear a lot of chatter about like possible splits happening in the Conservative Party again, or whether or not, or this is also why you're getting things like the PPC Party and the Maverick Party and all these other like offshoots forming, because they're trying. That's the right wing of the Conservative Party like rejecting this move to more moderation. I mean, because what you had before, the reason why we have the federal party is just called the Conservative Party, is because they used to be the progressive conservatives, but then they merged with the Reform Party to form just the Conservative Party of Canada, which was no longer the kind of like progressive, and that came out of like largely things like the Liberals enacting things like gay marriage and stuff like this, which they started to like really revolt against, or find that like if we are going to oppose these kind of like more progressive elements, they had to find a way to like work together, and we got Stephen Harper out of that. So, but like it's interesting because like that divide still exists, and you'll get people like O'Toole get the leadership, and then it's just a matter of like how they can maintain that unity, because then all of a sudden the right wing will start to like not like it.
Yeah, and like that sort of fracturing is a lot newer than we like really. I don't know, it's one of those like it's been around my entire lifetime, it's probably been around your entire lifetime, but beyond that it isn't really like that old in terms of like even the history of this country, of like that conservative like being the clear like far right, I guess. Like
Yeah,
that's been, you know, the increasing Americanization and like everything like that. And And I was talking about Diefenbaker and Tommy Douglas when he was in Saskatchewan, bringing, bringing healthcare to Saskatchewan. I'm not talking about like the institution of healthcare on the federal level, but like, that was the start of socialized medicine. And it's like, for the most part, it's more just like different power bases than actually different like partisan beliefs, I guess.
Nom says the progressive moniker came from the merger of the Progressive Party with the Tories in the 50s. Progressive Party came from the older Theodore Roosevelt kind of progressive, still conservative but partially populist. And I'm going to say, like, I don't know the history too much, but the vibes I got from existing, I guess, growing up when there was still the progressive conservatives, was you had figures like Joe Clark, and they mostly ran on the like economic issues. Like you never really heard them campaign on things like abortion or gay marriage and stuff like this. So that's always been like the divide in my head, that there was an element of like those things are okay and like the more liberal society is cool, but then of course when it came to like fiscal policy and stuff like this, they were always, anti-union, pro-austerity, like that kind of bullshit. When I think of progressive, I think of the weather report. Why? Why do you think that? All right, I'm going to continue reading. So this is what the CFIB had to say. So they're a small business organization, I hate the term small business, but I'm going to use it because that's their language. But they're the business side. They're anti-union. Let's just say that.
They're small business, and they're also just like very far right, as small businesses tend to be.
Well, my current MP still, Peter Franciscanos, who won his re-election, he once quoted the CFIB in order to defend his voting for a bill to send the postal workers back to work from their strike. He quoted the CFIB, and I had to I tried pointing out to him that the CFIB is explicitly anti-union, and he's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And it's like, if you go to the CFIB's website, they literally have like documents and slideshows on their fucking website that tell you how to decertify your union. And like his argument was sort of like, well, they're not telling you should decertify. They're just offering it there in case you want to. It's like, get the fuck out of here, Peter. I hate that guy. Anyways, This is what the CFIB had to say. The Small Business Lobby Group said it is particularly concerned that Ontario is scrapping the separate lower minimum wage for restaurant and bar staff who serve liquor that will give them an increase of $2.40 an hour on January 1st. Ford made the minimum wage announcement flanked by two of the most influential union leaders in Ontario. Dear fucking God, why would you do this?
Yeah.
UNIFOR's national president, Jerry Diaz. What a piece of shit. Put it in the chat.
Jerry, huh?
Put it in the chat.
Yeah.
And Smokey Thomas. What the fuck are you doing, Smokey? I don't know a ton about Smokey. I've heard some things. I don't think he's that great, but like the members of OPSEU are pretty dope for the most part. And this is just disappointing as hell. Like they've been fighting Doug Ford this whole time.
Add a line to the fuck Jerry Diaz thing.
Remember Vienna?
I spelled Jerry Diaz wrong. Oh my god. How embarrassing.
Remember Vienna? When we what was it? It was Vic. What's his name? Vic Fideli, the finance minister for the Progressive Conservatives, came to meet with the CFIB at the Best Western in town, and we went with OPSEU members. One of them in particular is a very loud and boisterous OPSEU member, and we opened the doors while he yelled at the CFIB and Vic Fideli. So OPSEU employees are pretty incredible, and the union members are incredible. But yeah, not a big fan that these two would decide that they're going to show any fucking support for Doug Ford, Terrible, terrible optics, terrible look. OPSEU. OPSEU. It's Ontario Public Service Employees Union. That includes people like the liquor employees. What else does it include? I can't remember off the top of my head. Health and safety, some health and safety inspectors, because I know the one guy that I was talking about, and I'm not going to say his name on stream right now, but I think they are like a health. They go to like workplaces and offer like health and safety training. All right, I'm going to continue. Persuading both Diaz and Thomas to attend the news conference and to thank the government for the 65-cent minimum wage hike can only be seen as a big political win for the PCs. When this government first got elected, we had our bumps, and I said some not so nice things about the premier on many occasions, Thomas said Tuesday. He said things changed in the pandemic when Ford called him and the pair agreed to put partisanship aside and work together. Fuck off, Smokey Thomas.
Oh my god.
My Lord.
That sucks so much.
Like, after everything, like, didn't we read the litany of shit that Doug Ford did? And all Doug Ford did here was raise the minimum wage by like 65 cents. And now all of a sudden we're fucking on the same team and we're like cool now? Like, holy shit. Like, where's our 2 paid sick leaves? Where's the pay equity? Like, TSSA inspectors got certified very recently.
Fuck.
What?
The next paragraph?
Do working people have everything we want? No, Thomas continued. But for the first time in dealing with 3 governments, we actually have a government that is listening and actually doing some very positive things for working people.
Fuck.
I should reach out to my OPSEU friends and see how they feel about this.
Tyler Shipley on Twitter, who wrote Canada in the World, said that Smokey is the head of his union, and actually I'm just going to read the tweet and not change the pronouns to like make it sound like not the whatever. Smokey is the head of my union, and we were legislated back to work despite nearly 90% of the membership rejecting the employer's offer just days before. I was at Queen's Park, and before my very eyes, the motherfucker told the press he understood why the province did it. We might need to make a fuck Smokey Thomas.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come up as often.
Is Smokey a scab? No, Smokey is the president of the fucking union. Oh god, that's embarrassing. So now we're getting to Jerry. So here we go. Here's Jerry. Diaz welcomed the increase, which will mean a New Year's Day raise for the 760,000 workers in Ontario who earn minimum wage. There's also a knock-on effect for tens of thousands more, including unionized supermarket workers with contracts that set their pay rates as minimum wage plus. I think it's a good start, but there's a lot of other work that still has to be done. I mean, that's a little bit better, Diaz, so cool. Diaz said...
How are you worse than Jerry Diaz, Smokey?
Diaz said, citing the Ford government's legislation capping public sector wage increase at 1% and the lack of guaranteed sick days. I mean, yes, exactly. Holy shit, Diaz outdoing Smokey Thomas. I mean, here's the other thing that sucks, though. He still stood next to him at the fucking press thing.
Yeah. I posted a thing in Discord again in voice chat text. It was just like a little Twitter thread about this that I thought was pretty good.
Here we go. Why are Diaz and Smokey collaborating with Doug Ford? Here's an attempt at an explanation. For 20 years, the CAW/UNIFOR survival strategy is lobbying feds and province to induce industrial investment to keep jobs. Yes, I've said that before as well. It's the same logic behind the CAW accepting two-tier in auto. This UNIFOR strategy is seen with Doug Ford at the UNIFOR picket lines demanding continued production of the de Havilland's Dash 8 at Downs View. He also spoke at the Alstom streetcar plant in Thunder Bay, also UNIFOR, which was hammered by layoffs, promising more orders. As for OPSEU, the Ontario Public Service has faced no major job cuts under Ford. This is far cry from the 100,000 job cuts promised by former PC leader Tim Hudak in the 2014 election. As a result, it's dues money in the bank for Smokey's union dictatorship. Jesus Christ. As for Ford, he wants unorganized working class and liberal votes and to split the NDP and liberal vote through disorientation, 100%. Cutting loose the anti-lockdown small biz movement that rallied to the PPC and will likely vote for dissidents like the New Blue Party. Another point, tens of thousands of OPSEU and some UNIFOR members are getting real wage cuts via Bill 124. This helps union leaders sell shit contracts to members and keep the ranks demobilized. A demoralized and demobilized membership is a way of maintaining power. Yep. The Seafarers International Union of Canada president was also at the Doug Ford press conference today. The SIU and UNIFOR have a good working relationship. SIU members refused to lead the bulk carrier Algoma Innovator during the militant Goderich miners' strike in 2018.
I think that last one was because the Goderich miners were UNIFOR, I guess.
Yeah.
But the last one didn't really seem as relevant.
Well, because the guy was there. I don't know. It's just like, to me, I mean, I've made the statement about Diaz before. Like, part of it is they're just showing up because they think they're making a political calculus that I think is stupid, which is they're going in their heads. Is the pro-union party, which is currently the official opposition, are they going to win? And they're going, probably no. So therefore, we're going to support the party we think is going to win on the off chance that in supporting them, we're going to get favorable whatever. That is pretty much what it is to a T, and it's fucking disgusting.
And it's just taking advantage of how splintered the labor movement is right now, too, because there is no vision or, actual aims for any better future. It's mostly still the unions fighting on the defensive and doing whatever it takes to survive and keep things as they are.
And it's happening at a time when things have died because of the pandemic. There was an increase in union militancy and mobilization leading up until the pandemic. Even for the teacher strikes that were occurring right before the pandemic struck. And that kind of phased out with a whimper because pretty much they got their contract right when the pandemic lockdown started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 years previous to that was tons of protests and marching, all the fucking shit that Doug Ford was doing and how terrible he is. And so it's weird whiplash that 2 years of a pandemic and all of a sudden he's your best friend now? Because of 60 cents? It's just fucking weird.
Jody, it's 65 cents. So
what did I say?
You said 60.
Oh,
so come on,
sorry. I forgot.
Don't undersell
about
Doug Ford.
Make Ford rob again. Give Doug Ford enough to eat at home again. Maybe he won't show up to work then. The opposition parties are hoping voters won't buy that Ford and the PCs have the best interests of workers at heart. The announcement today doesn't make up for the damage that Doug Ford has done to working people, NDP leader Andrea Horwath said Tuesday. I'm so sick and tired of watching liberals and conservatives use minimum wage workers as political pawns on the eve of an election where they're concerned about losing power, said Horwath. It is disgusting, it is cruel, and it continues to happen. It's a shameful tactic. The NDP says the typical minimum wage worker is out $5,300 in the 3 years since the government canceled a plan increase to $15 an hour. The Liberals put the figure at $6,700. That's a weird discrepancy. It's like Doug Ford set a fire, he ran over and put it out, and he wants us to pin a medal on his chest, said Liberal House Leader John Fraser. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner said Ford was sticking it to workers when the PCs first took power in 2018 and getting standing ovations from his caucus for it. I think people see through today's announcement and the effort to the Ford government to rebrand themselves, Schreiner said. I think there's some element of people. I don't think that a lot of like even when you read the reporting here, like it's clearly that like everyone's picking up that this is an election ploy. It's just amazing to me that like Diaz and Smokey would give it any credence. Like Doug Ford is not going to help you. He's not going to help you. So why would you do this?
I think that's the thing though, right? Like it doesn't matter if he's not helping them, so long as he's not actively attacking them. They're totally chill with him. It doesn't matter if he's attacking other workers because they have no solidarity with workers outside of their individual unions and like respective, areas of employment or whatever. Like it doesn't matter to them because so long as their membership is surviving, not doing well, not, having a great time, but existing still and paying dues, it doesn't really matter because there is no challenge internally from the union and there's no challenge and like they're not being absolutely destroyed externally either.
But if dues really were the thing that is motivating them here, you would think that you would not support Doug Ford because Doug Ford has made it more difficult for people to join unions. Like if that's what like I don't even fully understand what the motivation is here. If your motive if really it's some sort of greed thing, this isn't even helping their bottom line.
I don't think that it's a greed thing though. Like I think it is a maintenance thing. I think it is a staying at the same level as you have been for like since the dawn of neoliberalism and just trying to maintain that.
Yeah, but why?
Not aiming further and not trying to fall below because they don't give a shit about doing anything else because they're able to survive this way. And Jerry Diaz and Smokey Thomas and the other like union bureaucrats and also for the most part the membership as well, if they're again demoralized and demobilized, most of them are just focusing on survival. So it doesn't really matter to them if there are other cuts going on because they are looking after their own asses. Like,
yeah, but I don't know. I still don't see how that reflects any motivation on their part. Like I see no because things just remaining the same doesn't help them either. Like even in terms of just base politics within their own unions. I mean, it would be just be signaling to their base of like I'm literally not doing anything for you, right? Like they at least have to like give crumbs or some nuggets that they're doing something, There has been shakeups in unions before. It's not like they're impervious to anything like that. It's just a matter of like
no,
like,
and I'm sure that there will be shakeups at some point, but for right now, like Jerry Diaz just got reelected, so he doesn't have to worry about that for another like 3 or 4 years. I don't really know about the OPSEU internal structures, but like with Jerry Diaz, like he's safe. He's fine unless like something huge happens.
But
and
he was
so
he
long
was
as he
more
can
critical.
keep giving I know,
Yeah.
but he still showed up and he still like is doing this and he still, doesn't really like he withdrew from the fucking Canadian Labour Congress. Like obviously doesn't give a shit about non-UNIFOR workers, and he barely gives a shit about UNIFOR workers either. Like
I haven't like I know ops like what you can say about Diaz is they're not a part of like the CLC at all, but like OPSEU's a member of the Canadian Labour Congress, and it's in their thing that they're supposed to support the NDP. It's a part of the constitution of the CLC.
yeah, and I'm sure come election time they'll say, "Hey guys, vote
Vote
NDP,"
NDP, yeah.
and then just like not really do anything else. Like they won't mobilize their members. They won't like actually do anything, but they'll probably, there will probably be a few spam emails from the union being like, hey guys, don't forget to vote NDP in the election, and then nothing else. Like,
I don't know. There's elements in what you're saying that like I'm not fully there in like how you're describing this. I don't know what I have as like a theory to replace what you're saying, I guess is the other part of it. I'm honestly just baffled about all of it. I mean, especially because it's like it's interesting that it's just well, I guess maybe the three of them, but like why wasn't CUFW there? Why wasn't the United Steelworkers there? Why you know what I mean? Like why they have their own like legacy union presidents that have been there for fucking ever that are annoying as hell. So it's like why is it that these particular unions have made the choices they've made when confronted with similar dynamics within their own union structures? Like I don't understand what these two idiots are doing. I don't get it. None of it makes sense to me.
this is the funniest one. Like, that photo is just, like, so
Yeah.
dramatic and weird.
Especially like it looks like he's got a little grin on his face, like, haha, I did it. And he's going, feel like I made an offer that maybe I shouldn't have. Like
No, they both look just
No,
deeply uncomfortable in different ways.
yeah, I don't know. Weird picture though.
Like, that is not, yeah. But, like, just that they had to, like, dramatically pose for a photo together. Neither of them facing the camera is so good.
Well, I doubt this was an actual posing. This was probably just in the moment. Somebody snapped this picture. And it was like, what
I
a
hope
great
not.
picture. What, you think they actually did
hope
this
they-
pose?
Yeah. No, I hope somebody was like, hey, Jerry, can you face this way?
Oh, God. All right. So we're to end this segment, we're going to read what the small business owners had to say about this. This is the small business owner tweet thread, okay? Mr. Dan Kelly, who I've had an interaction with on Twitter before. What a fucking loser this guy is.
The CEO of the CFIB?
He is the president of the CFIB, correct? President and
Wow.
CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. Yeah,
He is Mr.
He's-
Independent Business.
yeah. He's the top tier douchebag. He is at the top of the list. So he said, a small business perspective on Ontario's minimum wage hike. 1. The government hiked the minimum wage 4 weeks ago. Hiked the minimum wage 4 weeks ago. From 14.25 to 14.35. Hiked it 10 cents. Oh my God, I fucking hate these people already. This was on top of a 25-cent hike in October 2020 based on inflation. It was not based on inflation.
Based?
The wage climbed a mountain. The wage climbed a 10-cent mountain. What did you say, Vienna?
I said based?
Yeah, it was apparently the 25-cent hike had to do with inflation, which not quite. The industries hit hardest by minimum wage hikes are retail, hospitality, arts/recreation. The very sectors hit hardest and locked down the longest during the pandemic. Only 37% of Ontario's small businesses are back to normal levels of sales. Many are losing money every single day they are open. They are sticking around hoping for better days. Now, I can't vet this number that he throws out here. I will just tell you that I've caught them in lies before. My favorite one was during the Cup W strike. They claimed that people were losing thousands of dollars due to retail losses because the postal workers were on strike. And their evidence for that was they did a survey asking owners of businesses whether or not they're losing money, and they self-reported, even though this was not indicated by any like economic measures, which measured like the real effect on the economy. So they basically asked managers to make up a number And they then used that to promote the idea that businesses were losing money. Fun. He continues, small firms are facing massive cost pressures on virtually every line of their budgets. Fuel, insurance, goods/services. I mean, the other element of that is, so is everyone else, you asshole. Like, all the people who have to drive to get to your job, you know? Simone! I hate the CFIB too, but, like, let's keep it down a little, okay? Okay? Whoa, don't knock my phone off. Cat's getting rowdy. They face a CPP hike on January 1st. A surprise additional minimum wage hike is about the last thing they need. Those with staff serving liquor and earning tips will be hit the hardest with the 20% increase in minimum wages. Raising minimum wages does next to nothing to address labor shortages. Employers who pay more than minimum wage to attract workers are forced to increase their wages too. But it's not supposed to address labor shortages. Like, that's the thing. It's supposed to make sure that people have like a living wage.
Oh no, they have to pay their workers more to attract more workers. The horror that workers might be paid better.
You know, Simone the cat might hate the CFIB, but she definitely loves the refreshing taste of Diet Pepsi.
Hell yeah.
Every cat's dream.
Diet Pepsi. Good for cats.
Oh my god. Now I gotta get that branding going. I mean, I was drinking it out of this cup that says, "How do you like meow?" I know. We got them as like a joke Christmas gift one year. I fucking love them for how cheesy they are. Don't feed your cat soda? You just made me do an advertisement, Two Cars. Maybe Simone should get out there and get one of those minimum wage jobs, all right?
First of all, it's not soda. It's Diet Pepsi. Second of all, they drink it.
Oh.
Checkmate, liberal.
Oh. All right, so we're going to get Simone to drink it live on camera. Just kidding. All right. I think we're on 7 here. CFIB's major concern is the timing of this policy. Employers will see two min wage hikes within 3 months. One of which was unplanned and a surprise for their 2022 budgets. Not their budgets.
Not the budget.
The owner was planning for $1 million raise. And now he'll only get a $500,000 wage. I don't know. Raise. It's not going to amount to that. I way over exaggerated how much this is going to cost. Their 2022 budgets. To date, there was no offsetting financial support to pay for this hike. CFIB data shows 75,000 Ontario small businesses are at risk of permanent closure due to COVID restrictions. The average small business has taken on $170K in fresh COVID-related debt. This raises the prospects of business failure for many. You know what would be a great solution to that problem? Is if the government subsidized these things during the pandemic. I don't know. Just saying. Someone redeemed some streamer shades. We're almost at the end of the stream, but I'll put them on. I'll put them on.
Nom also redeemed here from Chairman Mao.
You put those shades on. I spent 10,000 hard-earned points. Put those fucking glasses on.
Elrond, how many points do you have?
I had close to 50,000, but
I'm gonna have to increase those the channel points with the minimum wage to.
Right. That's right.
Oh dear Lord!
I demand an adjustment for inflation.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.